AJ Barnes, and thank you for coming back for another episode of Creative Writing Advice. If you don't know me, I am the author of How to Write a Story. I also have other books that are out. I have a film in production and a TV show in production. So the book, the blog, and the YouTube videos are all my way of helping bring the writing advice that I have learned and I have put into practice to you to try and help you become better and more confident writers. So over on Twitter this week, I've been asking for suggestions of people's favourite writers, favourite stories, things that they would like for me to do a video on. Because I think if I'm talking about something that you care about and are passionate about, any writing advice that I take from that story or from that writer's style and give to you, it'll help you ground yourself in it. It'll make more sense because it's something you're familiar with. I do try to make sure all the references I use are either pop culture and therefore probably accessible to everybody regardless of your interests, or if they are slightly more obscure or indie or anything like that, I do focus more on the actual advice you can take from the story rather than the story itself. So my goal is to make sure that all the writing advice I give you is as accessible and understandable as possible. You do not need to have a literary degree, you do not need to have studied. I'm not trying to be fancy here, I'm just trying to make stories something that we can all enjoy and enjoy writing. So I asked for people's suggestions on Twitter, and the first suggestion I'm going to talk about is Terry Pratchett, and I'm going to use Terry Pratchett's style of writing to talk about the narrator's voice. Now, this suggestion came from Fizzwiz on Twitter, who is Simon, and I'm not gonna lie, Simon is one of my biggest heroes in the whole world because he's my brother. And he asked me to talk about Terry Pratchett, and because I love my brother very much, I picked him first, so sorry everybody else. I'm doing Simon's suggestion first. So Terry Pratchett. Now obviously Terry Pratchett has a massive audience, he is hugely successful, rest in peace. And one of the reasons he is so popular is the narrator's voice. Now, I'm going to let you in a little secret. So my first book, Lily Prospero and the Magic Rabbit, when I first started getting my rejection letters, because trust me, we all get like 1,000 rejection letters for everything we do. Don't worry about it, don't take it personally. But sometimes you do get handy hints and tips that go with that rejection. So one of my first rejections I got for one of my first versions of Lily Prospero and the Magic Rabbit, I was told that my narrator's voice wasn't interesting enough. They liked the story, they liked the characters, they liked the concept, but the narrator was too bland. Now, young writer me was a bit confused because obviously the story isn't about narrator. It's not. The narrator, in my head at the time anyway, the narrator was purely a method of telling your audience what the characters were doing, what they were feeling, just the details that the audience needed to know because it was the characters that they were supposed to connect with. But now, having done a bit more and learned more and studied more and all of that sort of stuff, your narrator actually does matter a lot. Now, as I say, Terry Pratchett, as well as having a very unique writing style with his narrator, it is something that even if you don't go as full on, because he has a big narrator's voice, you can take that style and that advice that I will take from that and just weave it down a little bit, because not all stories will suit a narrator like the Terry Pratchett Discworld or the Diggers, Truckers and Wings. Like, you're not going to suit that for all stories. The stories I write would not suit a narrator's voice as strong as Terry Pratchett's, but that's fine. What you can do is see what he does and work with it in your own style. So Terry Pratchett is essentially a character himself in his own books. He is talking to the audience all the time. You're getting his thoughts, his jokes, his opinions. The narrator is such a strong character in the books that it's almost the main character, and that is Terry Pratchett himself. So when you are doing your stories, learn from Terry Pratchett that the audience actually does like a narrator who lets their feelings out and talks. Doesn't have to be quite as much. I understand that if you like Terry Pratchett or if you don't, you might see that narrator style is overwhelming. But you can put your personality into the work Don't keep your narrator bland. Your narrator should have personality because that is you. You can connect with your audience as the writer. You can talk to them, not directly, hello reader, blah, blah, blah. Don't do that necessarily. I mean, you can, as I say, it can work for some people, but you can let your personality come into the prose. You can talk about how your characters are feeling. You can describe things in your voice because you're the writer. Your voice actually does matter, not just your characters. And Terry Pratchett's style should give us all the confidence to let our personalities come into our stories, let ourselves go into our writing, and that is what the rejection meant that I got. I was trying to keep my personality out of my story because I wanted my story to be the focus. I wanted my story and my characters to breathe and have life. And I felt that if I shoved myself in the way and dominated the story with my own voice, then I would be stifling them and I would steal focus from what I actually wanted to talk about, which is my story and my characters. But you don't have to worry about that. You can be in your story. You matter. Your audience likes a writer. They like to hear what you think, and your voice and your way of speaking and your way of communicating and your way of writing will often be the draw to your stories, just like with Terry Pratchett. There are 1,000 boy meets girl stories, there are 1,000 witch stories, there are 1,000 high fantasy or space stories, vampire stories, demons, everything, no matter what you can think of, an incarnation of your story has probably been told. Because there's only so many stories, and you might have unique characters and a unique setting, but the overall concept, the overall theme of your story, it probably exists in one form or another out there in the world. You are what make it special. You are what make it unique. It's your voice. Nobody in the world can tell your story in the way you tell it. So don't cut yourself out of your book. Don't cut yourself out of your story. Be in it, because it's yours and it wouldn't exist without you. So try and let yourself just be free of worrying that you are dominating your story, because your characters and your story and your plot, your world, all of it, that will be the main takeaway, because that's what the story is about, and your characters are always the massive, massive draw to story. But you, as the writer, you matter, you're interesting, your style, everything about you should breathe through your story as well. And I think that is the main lesson we can take from Terry Pratchett. As well as, of course, all the wonderful characters and the incredible world. Yeah, that's great, but I think it's Terry Pratchett himself that makes those books so special and so beautiful and so beloved. So yeah, that is my advice from Terry Pratchett. Thank you very much, Simon, for the suggestion. If you want to drop me some suggestions of stories or writers that you particularly love, or if you've written a book that you think I could talk about and dissect like this and give other people something that they can take and be more confident and learn from to become the writers that they want to be, let me know. Drop a comment down below and tell me either your book that you think could be useful or your favourite book, film, TV show, anything like that. Let me know and I will try and do my best to cover all the different suggestions, because I think there's a lot out there that we can talk about. And as I say, if it's somebody or something you love and are very familiar with, and you can start to see how things have been done in the stories that you care about so much, it'll give you the confidence to try and do it yourself and, yeah, get more stories out there. So thank you very much. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I am trying to grow this and help as many people as I can become the better storytellers that they want to be. So yeah, if you can subscribe, it'll help me grow and I will be very grateful to you. Don't forget you can go to my website, www.jjbarnes.co.uk. Over there you can find links to how to write a story. You can also find links to my other books, my film, my TV work, and all my social media. So come find me, come chat to me, tell me what you're watching or reading, tell me what you love about it, and if there's something in it I can work with to help people become the writer they want to be. Thank you very much, and I'll be back again soon. Bye.